There are some towns in America that are neither fully rural nor truly urban. People are born there, grow up there, get married there, and often die there without ever going anywhere else. Life doesn't really allow for big decisions. The town I lived in was exactly like that. My name is Graham. When this story began, I was 24 years old. Our town sat near the Iowa border, the kind of place that's hard to find on a map. A few houses lined up along the main road, a gas station, a bar, and a single convenience store open day and night. That was it. At night, the streets were so quiet you could hear a car engine from miles away. I liked the silence. I didn't like the loneliness. My closest friend, Ryan, had been in my life since childhood. We went to the same high school, sat in the same classroom, ran from the same bar fight together. The difference between us was simple. Ryan had built a life. He was married. His wife was pregnant. His life was moving forward the way it was supposed to. Mine wasn't. That evening, Ryan and I were on the phone. I could tell from his tone where the conversation was headed. "Graham," he said, "I'm not saying this to be hurtful, but people notice." "Notice what?" I asked. "That you're alone. Always alone." I pulled the phone slightly away from my ear. In a town like this, the word people is a real threat. Because people doesn't mean one face, it means everyone's mouth. "I'm fine," I said. After a short pause, Ryan spoke again. "Look, just because I got married doesn't mean you have to. But you can't keep living like this either. You keep getting in your car at night and disappearing. That's not normal. Not normal." In a small town, those two words are dangerous. After we hung up, I couldn't stay inside. The walls felt like they were closing in. My thoughts crashed into each other like they were trapped in a narrow room. I grabbed my keys and went out. It was night at that hour. The only place open in town was the 24-hour convenience store by the highway. At night, it had a strange kind of life to it. Truckers filling up on gas, sleepless people buying cigarettes, people who didn't want to go home. I parked and went inside. The store was lit by harsh fluorescent lights. They weren't warm. They showed everything too clearly, leaving nowhere to hide. The shelves were neatly arranged. The drink coolers hummed softly. The cashier stood behind the counter, staring at their phone. I headed toward the cold drinks aisle, and that's when I saw her dot. At first, I only saw her back. She was wearing a dark jacket. Her hair fell just past her shoulders. She pushed her cart slowly, not rushed, but not uncertain either. Most women in town looked the same. Same hairstyles, same boots, same shopping lists. She was different. As she passed me, I saw her face just for a moment. And that moment was enough. My heart sped up. My breathing changed. It felt like all the sounds in the store suddenly dulled. There was a strange calm to her face. She wasn't smiling, but she wasn't frowning either. It was as if there was a distance between her and the place she was standing in. We didn't make eye contact, but I knew she was aware of me. I grabbed a drink from the cooler, though I don't remember what it was. My eyes kept drifting back to her. She moved calmly between the aisles, placing a few items into her basket. She wasn't in a hurry. Everyone who comes to that store at that hour has a reason. I didn't know hers. She walked to the register. I followed, a few steps behind. She didn't speak to the cashier. Paid, took her receipt, and left. I hesitated. Then I followed her out. The air outside was cold. Only a few cars sat in the parking lot. She got into an old, dark-colored sedan. The engine started. The headlights came on. I didn't want to let her go, but I couldn't stop her either. I followed her in my car, keeping my distance. My headlights were dimmed. A voice inside me said, "You're doing something wrong." But there was another voice, stronger, deeper. That voice said, "You need to know her." She left the town, turned off the main road, took a less used route. Soon, everything around us was dark. No streetlights, just the road lit by headlights, and her car ahead of me. She finally turned into the driveway of an old, neglected house. It stood outside town, the kind of place no one wanted to live anymore. The yard was overgrown, no lights in the windows. But it wasn't abandoned. It felt more like it had been forgotten. I parked some distance away. She got out of her car, opened the door, went inside. No lights turned on. The door closed. I was left in the dark. That's when a strange feeling settled in my chest. It wasn't just curiosity. It felt like a warning. On the drive home, I gripped the steering wheel tightly. My heart was still racing. It was very late when I got home. I checked my phone. There was a message from Ryan. "You okay?" I didn't reply. I couldn't sleep that night. The next day, I went back to the store. Same time, same aisles. She wasn't there. I went again over the next few days. Still nothing. I had only seen her once, but it felt like she had already become part of my life. One evening, I told Ryan everything: the store, the woman, the house. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Graham, I don't know who lives in that house. That place isn't talked about much. What does that mean?" I asked. "It means this," he said. "If she really lives there, think twice before trying to know her." But I had already stopped thinking. That night, I made a decision. I was going to find her. I was going to learn who she was, and I had no idea where that decision would lead me. For 2 nights in a row, I went to the convenience store. Same hours, same aisles. I stood in front of the same cashier. But she wasn't there. It was as if she had never existed, as if my mind had been playing a strange trick on me. The next day, Ryan and I went to the bar. Normally everyone in town ends up there at night, but that evening it was unusually quiet. Ryan sipped his beer while watching me. There was concern in his eyes, mixed with curiosity. "You're still thinking about her," he said. "I didn't deny it, Graham," he continued, lowering his voice slightly. "There's something about that house. People don't talk about it, but they know what." I asked. Brian shook his head. "I don't know, but it's nothing good." That night, when I got home, I had made up my mind. I would wait for her. The following night, I sat in my car in the market's parking lot. Time passed. I wasn't tired. I was just waiting. And just as I was about to give up, I saw the old sedan. My heart started racing. She went inside the store. This time, I gathered my courage. I walked up to her. "Hey," I said. "I've seen you here before." She turned to me. Her eyes were dark, deep, but tired too. "Yes," she said. "I've seen you as well." Her voice was calm, strangely calm. She told me her name was Maris, that she didn't live in town, that she stayed outside town with her grandmother. They came to this store because it was open late. While she spoke, she kept glancing around, as if she didn't want anyone listening to us. That evening, we walked outside together. We stood by our cars. We didn't talk much, but there was a strange closeness between us, as if we understood each other even without words. Before leaving, we agreed to meet again at the same place the next day. A few days later, she invited me to their house. The inside was more orderly than it looked from the outside, but the air was heavy. Old photographs hung on the walls. It wasn't clear who the people in them were. The faces weren't distinct. That evening, I met her grandmother. Her name was Evelyn. She was old, but not weak. Her gaze pierced straight through you. When she spoke, she looked directly into my eyes. She didn't speak in circles. "Are you serious about my granddaughter?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "I am," she nodded. "Then there's something you need to know." The unease inside me returned immediately. "If you marry Maris," Evelyn said, "there are certain rules you must follow." "What kind of rules?" I asked. The woman leaned toward me across the table. "After midnight," she said, "until the sky begins to lighten, you must never look at her right arm." I laughed for a moment. Then I stopped, because she wasn't smiling. "Why?" I asked. "Don't ask the reason," she said. "Just obey. If you follow this rule, everything will be fine. If you don't, you will bear the consequences." And she made me swear an oath. At the time, I thought it was ridiculous, and that was my real mistake. Maris and I got married. During the first months of our marriage, everything looked perfect from the outside. Maris was quickly accepted in the town. Her quiet nature, the distance she kept from people, and her presence that never disturbed anyone fit exactly the local definition of a good person. No one questioned her past. In small towns, people deliberately avoid certain questions because the answers usually disturb the peace. I didn't ask either. Everything I chose not to ask slowly accumulated inside the house. During the day, we were normal. We went to the market together, shared household chores, and occasionally spent time with Ryan and his wife. Maris spoke little, but when she did, her words always landed exactly where they should. Sometimes, when I looked at her, I felt as if she came from a place far beyond this town, as if she were only a guest here, waiting for the right time to leave. The nights were different. As midnight approached, Maris's face changed. She turned off the lights, drew the curtains, and moved toward the darkest corners of the house. She didn't like television. She didn't want music. She wanted silence, and in that silence, I remembered Evelyn's words, "After midnight, Until the sky begins to lighten, you must not look at her right arm. Over time, that sentence stopped sounding like a warning and turned into a whisper in my head. Whispers are exhausting. They don't shout. They wander inside your mind. For a while, I followed the rule. I controlled myself. At night, I turned my back. I didn't turn on the lights. I suppressed my curiosity. But curiosity is something that grows stronger the more you suppress it. Every night, the same question circled in my head. What could it be? One night, after spending time at the bar with Ryan, I came home drunk. Very drunk. Alcohol erases boundaries. The ones you set for yourself, and the ones others set for you. Maris had gone to bed early. Her back was turned to me. The room was dimly lit. I could hear the wind outside. The wooden parts of the house creaked softly as they expanded in the cold. I sat on the edge of the bed at that moment. Evelyn's face appeared before my eyes. The moment she made me swear, the way she spoke without breaking eye contact. I shouldn't have reached out, but I did. I slowly lifted the blanket, and I saw it. On Maris's right arm, there was a mark that didn't resemble a human hand. It wasn't a normal bruise. The finger marks were too long, too deep, as if they had been pressed beneath the skin itself. This wasn't the mark of a blow. It looked more like she had been held. My heart nearly stopped. "Graham," Maris said as she woke up. Her voice was trembling. "Why did you look?" she asked. "You promised you wouldn't." I couldn't speak. At that exact moment, the lights went out. The house was swallowed by darkness. But it wasn't an ordinary darkness. The silence changed too. Sounds began to come from inside the walls, as if something were moving. Whispers, words I couldn't understand, coming from multiple places at once. Maris pulled herself into the corner of the bed. She drew her knees to her chest and pressed her hands over her ears. "They've come," she said. After that night, nothing was ever the same. Maris stopped speaking. Even during the day, she kept the lights off and the curtains closed. She refused to eat. She didn't go outside. Even though we were in the same house, it felt as if a thick wall stood between us. I stopped sleeping at night. As I wandered through the house, I saw movements in the mirrors. Sometimes I felt a breath behind me. I couldn't tell Ryan anything. Even if I did, he wouldn't believe me. And he wouldn't want to be afraid of something he didn't believe in. One night, when I came home from work, the house was silent. Too silent. I went into Maris's room. The bed was messy. The curtains were open. On the mirror, there were symbols I had never noticed before. They looked drawn, but no one had drawn them. It was as if they had always been there. Maris was gone. I searched the entire house. I went out into the yard. I checked with the neighbors. No one had seen her. At that moment, the fear inside me turned into certainty. I went to Evelyn. When she opened the door, her face looked tired, but not surprised. It was as if she had been waiting for this moment. "You broke the oath, didn't you?" She said nothing else. That night, I learned the truth. Maris had grown up in the human world, but she did not belong to it. When Evelyn said this, there was not the slightest hesitation in her voice. She wasn't being dramatic, nor was she trying to frighten me. She spoke as if she were finally telling a truth she had hidden for years, now believing there was no longer any reason to keep it secret. "What do you mean?" I asked. "Isn't she human?" Evelyn slowly shook her head. She lived among humans. She breathed like a human. She loved like a human. But where she truly belonged was not here. I leaned forward in my chair. My hands were trembling, though I tried not to notice. "Years ago," she continued, "an agreement was made to protect her. That agreement had conditions, rules, silence. I remembered the oath, the rule about never looking at her right arm after midnight. Her right arm, Evelyn said, was the boundary between two worlds. When that boundary was opened, her eyes opened as well. So did her ears. And she began to hear them again." "Who?" I asked. Evelyn looked away. "Those who were calling her back." At that moment, I understood that the whispers I had heard in the house were never meant for me alone. They were voices Maris already knew. Because of me, she had simply begun to hear them again. "Can I bring her back?" I asked. I didn't ask because I was hopeful. I asked because I was ready to hear the answer. After a long silence, Evelyn spoke. "The agreement is broken. The protection is gone. There is no return now." I stood up. My legs barely held me. "You lied to me," I said. "I told you less than the truth," she corrected. "Because if you had known everything, you would never have married her." I turned toward the door. When I looked back, Evelyn was still sitting there. She didn't try to stop me. She didn't call after me, as if she had known from the beginning that this moment would come. After Maris, the house did not lose its silence. On the contrary, the silence grew heavier. At night, I still heard the same sounds, but the whispers were gone. What remained was a sense of presence, like feeling something shift inside the house, an unseen weight that could not be denied. The symbols in the mirrors eventually faded, but I never learned what they meant. I told Ryan nothing. I only said that Maris had left the town. He didn't question it much. People rarely pry into things they don't want to hear. I still live in the town, but I don't go out at night. I don't go to the 24-hour market. After midnight, I leave the lights on. Most of all, I try to escape the feeling that someone is standing behind me. Sometimes, between sleep and waking, I see Maris. She's facing me. She doesn't speak. She just looks at me. There's no anger in her eyes, no accusation, only distance. Years have passed. I never married again. I never even considered letting someone else into my life, because some people enter your life only once, and when they leave, they don't just take themselves with them. They take away your belief that the world is a safe place. Even now, there is one thing I still believe. Some rules exist. They seem irrational. They are never explained. But when they are broken, you are not the only one who pays the price. And some people, though they do not belong to this world, are loved most deeply within it. Thank you for listening to this story until the very end. If this video affected you, don't forget to support the channel by liking it. For more dark and realistic stories like this, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. See you in the next story.